r/Nosleep. Posted by u/GamerTray01. I work at a gaming cafe and it has a few strange rules. Part 1. After just finishing university with a mountain of debt, I decided it'd be a good idea to start a part-time job while waiting for someone in my field to start hiring. After 2 months without any luck, I finally got a call from a video game cafe I had applied to a week ago. The interview was 3 days from now at 10 in the morning. I was really excited since I was a huge gamer myself. This was much better than working at retail or at KFC. Also, there's no need for you to wear anything formal, just don't wear anything with too bright, said the guy on the phone. Weird, but I suppose each place has its own reasons. I showed up at the cafe 15 minutes early. It was a run-of-the-mill gaming cafe with dark rooms with only the monitors and barely glowing green ceiling lights keeping it lit. There were a total of 20 rows of PCs with about 20 PCs on each row. There was a large, automatic glass sliding door in front of the 20th row with about 20 consoles on the other side. Looking at this, I was really excited since it seemed that this place was pretty rich. I walked up to the front desk and told the guy I was here for the interview. "Yeah, dude, take a seat, they'll be there in a minute," he said. So I sat down. 5 minutes later, a woman with long black hair in a black suit wearing a black shirt approached me saying she was the manager. "You're the one taking the interview?" she asked. I said yes, and we went inside a secluded room. She asked a few questions, then asked if I'd be fine taking the night shift since people basically stay here till 6 a.m. I was fine with the night shift. I didn't have anything to do back home anyway. "You didn't wear any bright colors, that shows you're good at following the rules. You're hired," she said haughtily. I didn't like this woman very much, but the pay was more than twice minimum wage, so I didn't say anything. She said I could start working tomorrow and told me to be here by 10 p.m. The next day I arrived at the cafe by 9:50, didn't want to be late on my first day. I was greeted by a cheery dude who told me I just had to accept payment and make sure no one damages any property. He then took his leave. There only seemed to be 4 people inside at the moment, and the computer showed me they had time until 4 a.m. so I just took it easy and started browsing Reddit until I noticed a pretty beaten looking note taped to the drawer. It said rules in big bold letters and listed about 10 common rules. Don't let kids buy energy drinks, the usual. At the bottom it said to turn the sheet over and read the most important rules. Number 1. Do not ignore these rules no matter how surreal they sound. You must not under any circumstances break these rules. Number 2. There is a dog in the employee break room that will get very aggressive if a person wearing or carrying clothes or objects with bright coloring enters the cafe. Do not let such individuals enter the cafe at any cost. We do not know how the dog knows if such objects enter the cafe. Number 3. At exactly 10:47 a man with a bright neon hoodie will appear outside the entrance to the cafe. He will immediately start running towards the gaming rooms. You must not let him get past the hallway. There is a handgun in the drawer labeled number 3. Number 4. If at any moment any of the PCs or consoles that are turned off turn on by themselves, smash them to pieces and throw them into the bin in the break room. If you fail to do this, turn off the main breaker and tell all customers to close their eyes and hide underneath their desks, while you hide under yours. If we're lucky, some of them will survive. Number 5. If any of the customers start behaving erratically and start trying to force themselves inside the monitor or television, then shoot them immediately. You'll be saving them from a fate worse than death. None of the other customers will notice. Number 6. On days when we don't have many customers, a man wearing a large brim hat and a t-shirt with the phrase "Praise the Sun" will appear between the times 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. You will not be able to see his face. Do not ask to see his face or even try. He will say and ask numerous things about the sun. You must agree with him and be polite. Number 7. At 5:15 a.m. every day you will see a pool of blood beginning to accumulate under the refrigerator. Pay no heed to it and look straight ahead no matter what you see getting out of the refrigerator in your peripheral vision. Number 8. If you think you see something running through the air conditioning vents, ignore it and it will go away most of the time. If it stops above you and knocks on the vents, immediately act like a customer has called out to you and walk away from the front desk at normal pace. Do not run or walk too slowly. Reading this list made me very uncomfortable, but it had to be a prank, right? It was still 10:25, so I still had time to see if this was a prank, and then from above me I heard a loud knock. I froze in place, not daring to move. Number 8. If you think you see something running through the air conditioning vents, ignore it and it will go away most of the time. If it stops above you and knocks on the vents, immediately act like a customer has called out to you and walk away from the front desk at normal pace. Do not run or walk too slowly. I almost started sprinting before stopping myself and yelling, "Yeah, coming over right now," startling a few people. I took slow steps, too slow. I heard the vent unscrewing. I pinched myself and started quickening my pace and didn't stop until I heard the vent close and its footsteps recede. I walked back to the front. I didn't have the courage to sit down, I just stood in a corner, glancing at the vent occasionally. By now I was convinced all this was true. I was always someone who believed things easily. I looked at the time, it was 10:44, I still had a few minutes before the man was supposed to run inside. I will shoot him, I will shoot him, I will shoot him. I wasn't able to shoot him, I just couldn't shoot something that looks like a human. Not shooting him was a huge mistake. The instant he set foot inside, the door to the break room began shaking violently. In less than a second the door was demolished and out jumped something that no sane person would call a dog. It was more than 4 times the size of a Great Dane and was much taller than a human. Its skin was jet black and glistening with moisture without any apparent fur. Its feet looked almost human and its backbone was visible, but worst of all was its face. It had no eyes to speak of and its mouth looked like the Demogorgon's with 2 flaps instead of 4. The tongue looked more like silk than flesh and darted in and out of the mouth like a snake's. With a mouth that big it could easily bite off someone's head, and that's exactly what it did, running up to the guy in the neon hoodie and violently ripping his head and upper body off. Blood spewed everywhere. I still had the pistol in my hand. I aimed at the dog and shot. The bullet went straight through its torso, but it didn't seem to notice. Instead it ran up to one of the customers and ripped his arm off. I'm not ashamed to say I hid beneath the front desk after seeing that. It continued to maul the other customers. All the while I heard sick crunching noises. After murdering the last customer, it slowly walked up to the front desk and sniffed around. If I was gonna die, this is not how I would go. I was prepared to shoot myself at that point. Through some heavenly luck it didn't realize I was there and went back into the break room. After almost half an hour of crying beneath the front desk, I finally got up to look at the remains of the customers. I poked my head slightly above the desk, but everything was as it was before. No broken door, no dead bodies, but the 4 people in the store weren't there anymore. Nothing eventful happened for a while after that. Well, I did have a meth addict come in and try to rob me, but he changed his mind very soon when I showed him the gun. It was 10 minutes to 5:15. The refrigerator was located to the left of the front desk. It was fairly small, used only to store energy drinks. When 5:15 finally rolled around, I turned the chair so it would face straight ahead. I know I could have turned the other way, but knowing something was behind me but not knowing what it is more terrifying than just seeing it. After about 10 seconds of silence, I heard the refrigerator door slowly creaked open. Out of the corner of my eye I saw a vague humanoid figure just standing inside with all the iron compartments jutting out from its body. I sat there frozen in fear, unable to move or grab the gun. It slowly made its way out while the iron parts made a sickening sound sliding through its body. It made its way towards me slowly and deliberately, taking a step every few seconds. I resisted the urge to run out the door screaming. It stopped 2 feet away from, stretched out its hand as if to touch me. That was too much. I grabbed the gun and turned to shoot it, but it was gone. The clock finally rang 6 a.m. I practically bolted out the door when the guy with the morning shift came in, not stopping to respond to his greetings. I drove home, breaking the speed limit 3 separate times. I really don't want to go back to work anymore, but I really need the money. I'd be having a long talk with the manager though.